It is time to press snooze on the news and turn to the only opinions that really count. Hey everyone, I'm Steve Noviello. It is time to get for real. My panel is made up with some fresh faces tonight. First up, she should be fast asleep, but I said, please stay up with us. From Good Day, it is Hanna, Battah. Hi there.
I would only stay up for my bedtime for you.
Very kind of you. Next up, he always seems to be bringing up issues, doesn't he? From The Issue Is, please welcome Stephen Dial.
I heard we're getting overtime for this.
I heard you stole my look, so we'll get to that in a minute. And next up, she is an OG of the Real Housewives of the Big D. Please welcome tastemaker and philanthropist Stephanie Hollman. It's so nice to see you.
I am so excited to be here. Excited, scared, all the things.
Oh, we're very kind. We're very kind. We're going to get to more of you in a minute, but first, let's get started with a closer look at tonight's first topic. It is time to take two. He was meant to be the golden boy for a whole new generation of suitors, and he seemed to have it all, right? Good looks, good intentions, and a really great backstory. But just as he handed out that final rose, ABC's new Bachelor seemed a little more gilded than golden in a long line of those who have been looking for love when they turned to TV.
The relationship between romance and reality TV is as old as time. Or time slots. In 1965, the dating game featured a bachelorette who would question 3 bachelors and choose one for a date. Love Connection let singles go on blind dates and then discuss their experiences in front of a live studio audience. The Bachelor premiered in 2002 and spawned multiple spin-offs and competitors, most notably Joe Millionaire, where a regular guy pretended to be a wealthy millionaire to win affection. While few TV relationships last, the dating franchise, Farmer Wants a Wife, has aired in 32 countries and resulted in 180 marriages and 410 children. A new season premieres on Fox this February. And yes, Steve, that was a shameless plug. For real.
A little nod to our friends at Fox Corporate. Thanks so much. And for those of you really not following along in your reality TV handbooks, this is not the first time this reality show or others have been seemingly just a little sloppy getting the real part right. In this case, according to The Hollywood Reporter, Jerry Turner, the 72-year-old Golden Bachelor, might not have been quite as advertised. Aside from the details of his professional life, it was his past love life that was called into question, because when you go on national television to tell the world that you have never kissed a woman since the death of your wife, all the women who you have kissed seem to come to the surface like latte art at an overpriced coffee shop. But be it this show or others on which the stars have gone from feasting on craft services to the food hall in federal prison, what we're talking about is why, especially when it seems that nobody cares. The Golden Bachelor, by the way, drawing the biggest audiences since we all lined up to get our Fauci ouchie, with a season finale that drew an audience of more than 6 million viewers. A number, by the way, which has prompted ABC to set a date for a golden wedding special in which this bachelor and bride will trade in their roses for rings. Stephanie Hollman, you have more experience on this topic than all of us put together. What was the background check like for Housewives?
You know, I had to speak to a therapist for all of 10 minutes, and all they said was, it's going to be hard. Are you ready? That's it. Like, it was no deep dive. And I don't really think they did much of a background check. They came in, asked us about our life, and then they wanted us to embellish that life and make it entertaining. So, yeah.
I mean, was there anything do they say to you, listen, if there's something in the back of your mind, you're worried about your grandmother finding out, she's going to find out, so come out with it now?
I mean, I think I was more aware of that. They're probably hoping that my grandmother comes and is mad at me. So no, they do not care about that. That's something that's a good thing.
Okay, do we care whether or not the Golden Bachelor really hadn't kissed anybody since the ex-wife died, or since he became a widow, Hanna?
You know, when I first heard the news, I kind of ignored it because, I mean, like everybody, I was rooting for you, Gary. I was so bummed to hear it, so I didn't really want to believe it. Would you guys be judging me if I told you that I cried during the premiere when he told his sob story?
I did too. It was so, like, multiple times.
It was
yes.
Insane.
It was
okay,
so good.
I'm in good company. Truly, it was so heart-wrenching. And so I think if it wasn't so extreme, it wouldn't have been that big of a deal, because I don't think that was something he really even needed to lie about, right?
Right.
I don't think anybody's going to fault the widow for dating other people after their spouse dies.
Right. Or, I mean, Stephen Dow, do you think that this is a nod to, like, somehow we all just don't feel like the reality of our life is cool enough for everybody else?
Yeah, you just add a little spice. I mean, that's what reality TV is.
A little bit of spice.
Every time I go home, I'm from Atlanta. Every time I go home, I've had to watch this show with my mom, and she was so into it. But I don't see the big deal. I mean, he's an old guy.
I mean, it sounded like he added a little spice and then some.
Well, let me tell you, nobody does reality TV spicier than the ladies of Atlanta. I mean, I am addicted to Married to Medicine and Real Housewives of Atlanta.
I stopped watching after Nene's not on it. Nene, that's my person.
His loyalty runs deep.
Yes.
So talk to me again about, I think that the embellishment part, because I was a fan of 2016, I tuned in. I mean, you and Brandy were the only two to last all 5 years, right?
Yeah, you're right. It was just Brandy and I'm like, wait, was it? So I remember going in season 1, and whenever I auditioned, they were like, tell us about your family. And my husband is very type A. He's very organized, and he makes lists, not for me, but like for himself. But when I went on TV, they were like, can you have him make lists? And I'm a people pleaser, so I'm like, sure, why not? And then he did, and he got so much hate. And we had to go to counseling about it.
Wow.
He was like, you made me look horrible.
Right. So this made-up storyline about your relationship had a real consequence.
So I will say it's very led by producers. So I'm sure even if he had already like kissed somebody, they were like, well, it's just so much better to say you didn't. And it's like elderly abuse. He's old, so
it's not that old.
He went along with it.
All right, round 1 is done, but we are just getting started. After the break, no phone, no parent. She put her unaccompanied kids on an airplane, and now she is suing American Airlines. And just a little bit later, a cake-tastrophe or just another Karen. A Texas mom is lighting up the internet, but is her complaint half-baked? I know I like to keep things pretty simple when ordering a birthday cake for my kiddos, and while one Texas mom says she thought she kept things simple too, her now viral TikTok rant may beg to differ. Take a look.
Yo, I just picked up my son's minion cake from H-E-B, and this is the ugliest thing I've ever seen. This is so not what I asked for, and his party's tomorrow. It is totally fixable, and I'm not that picky, so I just took it. But this is the ugliest thing ever. Let me show you what I showed her and what exactly I told her that I wanted. She even asked me, do you want it to be like ombre, to go from blue into yellow? And I'm like, no, straight blue, straight yellow, okay? Big swirls. I want it to be swirls. I was like, it doesn't have to be like with that fancy decorating icing to like make arms and I don't want that. He's gonna be it up anyways. This is what I got. What is this? What is this? Where are my swirls? Why is it ombre? Why is it green? What happened to the goggle circles? Oh my God. What the actual is that?
Oh, there's just a few things to unpack here. First up, I want to start with the expectation. Hanna, was it too much?
I mean, you're going to H-E-B, so I think you could make that argument, but I understand she did ask the person. She said, hey, are you able to do this? So I don't know.
I think that, listen, we all decided we were going to run out and buy $12 sheet cakes at Costco, which essentially put an end to every specialty bakery in America. And now we're complaining that the 17-year-old working in the bakery can't create a Disney cake with fondant on it.
I think the person should have been honest and said, I can't do this.
But they
that looked god awful.
I mean, it's pretty funny. It's like a minimalist minion. She didn't get what she wanted. She got an aesthetic minion.
And she really liked doing ombre. Did you see she did it regardless if the lady said she wanted it or not? She's like, I've been working on my ombre, so let me show you my skills.
Listen, ombre blue to yellow, that's tough.
She's very talented.
Okay, but it's the second part which really gets me. So she makes a point of saying, well, I didn't complain, right? I took the cake.
She's complaining.
Well, now 40 million people have just seen you not complain about this store in your viral video. What is it that you think that the internet does to us that makes us feel we can just place things indiscriminately as if they just disappear?
I think we live our lives on social media. I mean, we're constantly comparing with our lives with other people, and then she probably knew it would go viral, or at least like locally viral.
So, dare I say this is worse than complaining? I mean,
Yes,
if I'm that kid,
exactly the point.
I would rather take the angry customer than this.
Now, will the person who did it come forward?
Well,
and give their
now I
need a
will say,
follow-up.
and we do have a photo, she did fix the cake, right? She did there it is. She did a follow-up, because listen, now she knows she's got some followers on the TikTok here, right? So
There you
she's
go.
all, well, here, let me do this follow-up video for you. And she did a good job. I mean, she hid the ombre with the
Yes.
band.
That was
She put
better.
some glasses
She
on the
hit the
top.
ombre.
And now she's a TikTok influencer, so she
Exactly,
can make
right?
money off
I
of
mean,
this bad
seriously,
cake.
right?
It's brilliant. Yes, it really is.
It's very
Yeah.
smart.
Right, she's going to be on the British Baking Show next
Exactly.
time, and all of a sudden, the other thing that people, anybody read the comments? Did you see what everybody was asking about?
The nose ring. What's that?
That's
Is
not
that
a ring. Is it a ring?
That's
Is
your
it a?
takeaway?
Is it,
I don't know what it was.
That's what you got?
there were a lot. People were commenting. What is that? Is it a breathe right nose strip?
Oh my God.
Is it
A
some sort of
bedazzled
like
nose strip.
newfangled, slug? Is it a caterpillar? Somebody did chime in to educate us all. Apparently, it is called a nose chain. A nose chain, right? That you two piercings and then you chain across.
Is it on your Christmas wish list?
It did not make gift guide this year, but you never know.
All right.
Maybe
Let's
next
let it
year.
for 2024.
Here's the bottom line, though. I will say, I love a good supermarket sheet cake. I mean,
Oh, yes.
those
They're so
it might
good.
not have looked good, but I bet you that cake just was
I know-
delicious.
I know we don't have Publix here, but if y'all have ever had Publix cakes with the cream cheese icing, oh my goodness, so good.
That's all that matters,
That's
right?
all that matters.
It's not that serious. It's just cake. It
listen,
tastes
you
good.
have,
The
you
kid
have
will
kids,
love
and
it.
I don't know how old the kid was in this case. Young. I mean, she had mentioned it's a Minions cake, and I get it. You want it to be perfect. I mean, you have two boys who they're teenagers right now, or at least one of them is. They probably don't care as much, but back in the day, you want it to be perfect. You want the photos and whatnot, but it's just the self entitlement of like, well, I don't complain. But now I'm going to complain
Yes.
to the whole world because, I don't think that, I think HEB did me wrong. And no disrespect to HEB. I mean, people line up for that stuff, right? All right. After the break, 2 kids, 2 flights, and no chaperone or cell phone. The, quote, jail cell accommodations causing one Florida woman to sue North Texas-based American Airlines. Plus, we always have a seat for you on the panel. You can sound off on tonight's show or any topics we tackle when you text your video comments to 469-818-9114. We're back in a moment. We all know that Florida man is always up for a good headline, but tonight we turn to a Florida mom who is taking legal action after sending her 10 and 12-year-old sons unaccompanied on a plane from Missouri all the way to Syracuse, New York. Now, the plan hit just a little bit of turbulence around Charlotte, North Carolina, when the connecting flight for the kids was canceled. Mom paid up front for American Airlines' enhanced unaccompanied minor service, which provides a crew member escort for the kiddos. But according to the lawsuit, the boys were forced to sleep overnight on a sofa in what Mom describes as jail cell conditions at the airport, with the lights on in the freezing cold, with no food or water provided by American. Also named in the suit, the conflicting information that they got when the time of the new flight seemed to kind of be up in the air in a little bit, which left Mom quite worried. She says the 800 800 number meant to get her in touch with her kids, whom, by the way, did not have a cell phone, was of no use, causing her, quote, extreme stress and mental anguish and concern that her boys had been sex trafficked to another country, so now she wants American to pay up. The airline, by the way, has refunded the $150 fee per child. This is exactly why I put air tags on my kids when they go on a field trip. No joke. I mean, you're, again, 12 and 13, the boys?
So I have 12 and 14-year-old boys.
Okay.
And I have had them travel one time with the unaccompanied minor to join a friend for a summer trip. I would never do it if they didn't have a cell phone, A. B, I would never do it if it wasn't like straight there.
Direct, right.
Because that's such a scare. I don't even feel comfortable putting my bag on a plane if it has a connecting flight, because they've lost it for 30 days.
Yeah.
Much less my kids. There's no way.
I mean, again, I get that there's no direct way to get, I mean, you lived in Missouri, especially the airport in Columbia. I mean, you're connecting. I lived in Jeff City for a long time. There's no direct way to get from Missouri to Syracuse, right? But your nieces, I mean, what the fact that she's now suing because the airline didn't take care of the kids the way she felt that they should have.
Yeah, and you know what? I went and looked, when I knew that we were going to be covering this story, I went and looked at the policy, and it's super vague, which surprised me, because American's policy is that it provides what it just refers to as accommodations, but it doesn't really specify a certain type of hotel, any hotel. Did we get a chance to see this so-called jail cell that she described?
That's what I find interesting, because remember, the kids had no cell phone, mom wasn't there, but yet she's able to describe this Now, first of all, we've all been to cover stories at prisons. I've never seen a sofa in any of the jail cells at Lou Sterrett. I don't know, maybe they've upgraded since I've been there last. But it's the language, right, of the lawsuit, right? The jail cell-like accommodations, the freezing cold, the lights were on. What they ended up doing was sleeping at a room in the airport, which is for lost children, essentially. And it was an airline employee who actually brought them some food and some water, because American, so the lawsuit says, really kind of dropped the ball here. Stephen, what do you think?
Well, let's be real. I don't want to be that guy. I don't have a child, but some of this is on the mom. I mean, I used to work for Delta Airlines, and so I know like how some of that stuff works and some of the wording you have to use to, if your flight gets delayed, to actually get a hotel and yada yada. How do you send your kids without a phone with a connecting flight?
Yeah, as if the connecting flight. First of all, the connecting flight. I'm on the same page as you, Stephanie. I mean, again, our boys are 5 and 7. There's no. I mean, Doug, could you imagine? I mean, there's no way that they're getting on any kind of flight. But a connecting flight with no cell phone, especially in a day and age where it is so easy to keep track of them, right? And the part that kind of gets me here is, so what's the solution, right? Well, now I'm going to sue American Airlines because, and by the way, the lawsuit does allege that the program didn't operate the way that it was supposed to operate, and that's really kind of her beef here.
But don't you think if, say, the stewardess took the kids to a hotel and slept in the hotel room with the kids, that could also be a huge problem. Right. I think that American was screwed either way, because I would just, again, never, ever, ever put my kid on a flight unaccompanied if it wasn't going straight to the destination.
And you make a good point. Do you want your kids now sleeping in a hotel room somewhere?
With a stranger,
right. Now, apparently, and this is very much off the record, I was speaking with somebody who is kind of familiar with the program through American. Now, they say, and we have not confirmed this American, that the policy in that case is they go to the crew hotel and that a member sleeps outside of their door or is posted outside of their door in case they need anything. But even then, like it took me a while to just allow another parent to transport my child from a play date. I mean, I can't imagine taking them to a hotel somewhere, and sleeping, right?
Yeah, it's crazy. The whole thing just kind of blew my mind. I think we live in a world that's a little too Sue happy, and maybe this was a lesson for the airline and the mother, because I also read that she couldn't get a hold of her kids, but I'm like, make sure your kids have a cell phone or a way for you to get a hold of them, especially if they're going to be traveling all day.
Well, and you saw in the lawsuit, it was an 800 number. Have you ever tried to call an 800 number for an airline for anything? I mean, I couldn't imagine the phone tree that trying to find my children would involve.
Yeah, and I can imagine that she's worried as a parent. You're a parent, it's your children, they're not near you. I get that part. But some type of communication.
Right. What's
It's
your
2023.
part in all of
Yes.
this, right? What's your responsibility? All right. You know what your responsibility is? To sound off if you're watching the show, because we want to hear your feedback. What's next? You are. It seems you've got something to say, like, for real. Welcome back. It is time for you to get for real, and it seems the Minions mishap is taking the cake tonight. Melissa Garcia says, hey, Cake Lady here. Thank you for this. This is what happens when a customer thinks they can get it cheaper elsewhere. The most cringeworthy is when it's a wedding cake and they say they're going to let a family member or a friend do it. I couldn't agree more. Heather Heath Bauer says, I'm thankful I've hit that point in my life where I would just laugh and move on. Life is too short and it is just a kid's cake, so really, who cares? You didn't like the fix.
That's how I feel. I mean, I feel like it's so funny, the original cake. And you guys know, when I was 5 years old, my mom sent my dad out to get my birthday cake. He went and just saw a random purple cake, brought it home, had dinosaurs all over it. And little girl me was not a fan. I cried. To this day, it is still a hilarious joke that my family carries on year after year. I think the mom could have done something like that with this.
She did turn, lemons into lemonade. Certainly, I'd like to double click on Stephen Dial's experience at Delta Airlines. What were you doing for them?
Summer in college, of course, Atlanta, busiest airport in the world. I did cargo, not baggage, cargo. Really quick, funny story. All right, so I was on my lunch break in the terminal. We transport animals, computers, flowers from Hawaii every year. I said we, I don't work there anymore. And there was a lot of commotion, cops outside of a plane, everyone's freaking out. And I'm like, what's going on? They were transporting a cheetah from one airport to the other. Usually they're not sedated, but like sleep.
Right.
It broke out of his cage mid-flight. When the baggage person opened the plane, a paw went out. They had to call the Atlanta Zoo to tranquilize it. It broke out of the cage mid-flight.
Oh my gosh.
Insane. Insane.
I may or may not have lost someone's dog.
Really?
There's a no chase policy if you do not secure your dog's crate.
We're not running after it.
If they touch the
You just
tarmac,
let them run out onto the
you
tarmac?
cannot chase. You get
That's
something
it.
to
I'll
do.
just
Yeah,
say,
you get
let's
that in your air
sayonara,
jet, right?
Spot. It was so
No
good
chase
to
policy.
see you.
All right, if you've been sucked into the show, we want you to sound off, be a good, better, or worse. You can send your thoughts via video message by texting them to 469-8189-114. That is our time for tonight. We are back tomorrow night with a new approach in the war on drugs. Plus, the Christmas party going viral for all the folks who are working the self-checkout. And remember, whether you're just starting your day or just wrapping it up, opinions are like air fresheners. Yours is kind of nice, but everyone else's stinks. We'll see you next time.